Hello tiger fans, Michael Moss, independent Tasmanian tiger searcher researcher, always mainland Australia only, since 1995. Recently contacted Parks Australia regarding environmental DNA, whether they're screening for Tasmanian tigers, whether they're environmental DNA screening for any species, and I got a reply today. Now, back in 2000, just briefly, 2020, when I was under lockdown with COVID, I stumbled across a website called Invasive DNA, a Melbourne company. And I used to work for a company called Melbourne Water, and I was just scrolling, seeing what they were up to a long, long time ago in Melbourne, Victoria, state of Victoria, mainland Australia. And so basically I had a good look at, I noticed that on that website that Melbourne Water was doing some water surveying with this new thing I'd never heard of called environmental DNA with this company. And I went to the company's website and I suddenly realised that they could do a Tasmanian tiger potentially with this. That is, that you could take a water sample or even a soil sample, but a water sample's a real-time indicator of existence. And yeah, with this company, they can give out water filters, and you can go and filter some water and send it back to them for a fee, and they'll process it and match it with their species list of animals to identify what you've got for a cost, of course. Anyway, this private company, to enable that to happen, I had to get a Tasmanian tiger hair and send it to them, and they had to set up a probe. Now, that's what happened. I managed to get Tasmanian tiger hair. And by the way, I had no luck with the museums. I contacted Melbourne Museum, New South Wales, Queensland, West Australia, all of them, South Australia, Tassie. None of them would provide me with the Tasmanian tiger hair, even though I explained what I was up to. And it wasn't, I had no luck, and it wasn't until a guy I occasionally used to visit, if I had a suspicious hare in Victoria that I got from the field, I'd visit Hans Brunner, a world expert on mammal hair based at Frankston in Victoria, Metro Melbourne. And I'd go over there, slip a $50 note, and he'd have a look, because he had Tasmanian tiger hair, and he would compare my hair with that. Now, Hans was nice enough to supply me with the Tasmanian tiger hair, which I forwarded to eDNA, and for about $3,000, Enviro DNA, and for $3,000, they rigged up the probe, which basically they were successful in extracting DNA to test it, and which means that people can go and take water samples, etc., and with their filter, send it back, and they can see they've got Tassie tiger DNA in there. And they can also, through droppings as well, they've got a new thing called eDNA, which is being trialled. It's been around for about over a year now, but it's still in the trial phase, eDNA, so it hasn't taken off as quick as the traditional water or soil. So that's still in flux. So anyway, now, Parks Australia, it's a Commonwealth government. Now, the Commonwealth government, by the way, has done very well on this, because they've got a couple of other branches. The Murray-Darling Basin Authority, where they dominate, and also the another area up in Queensland called the Burnett-Mary Region Group. And because the Commonwealth was involved in both of them, they basically paid Enviro DNA to survey those. Well, they did citizens science surveys, and so they basically paid them those departments to get Tassie tiger on the list. So they were screened twice for Tasmanian tiger. So anyway, this is the response from Parks Australia, and they've got about only half a dozen national parks. It's the state governments of Australia that dominate, but Parks Australia's major famous national parks are in Northern Territory, Ayers Rock, and also Kata Tjuta National Park. Anyway, here's the response I got today from the lady. Dear Michael, thank you for contacting the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water. Under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999, the Director of National Parks is responsible for Commonwealth reserves. These include 6 national parks, the Australian National Botanic Gardens and 60 Australian marine parks. These areas are managed either directly or in partnership with traditional owners supported by Parks Australia. You can find more information about these parks at their website. Parks Australia is currently using eDNA to better understand and protect biodiversity on land and sea. This method can help us detect invasive species such as the wolf snake on Christmas Island, monitor threatened species like the great desert skink in Uluru, which is Ayers Rock, Kata Tjuta National Park, and to assess biodiversity in over 15 Australian marine parks. While we do not usually carry out genetic analysis ourselves, we are building our capability and working with research partners. We are collaborating with the CSIRO and the National Biodiversity DNA Library to improve eDNA data across Australia. We're also working with the Minderoo Foundation, it's a private foundation, to explore how eDNA can support conservation and improve access to data for park managers, researchers and the public. More information is available at marineparks.minderoo.org. Regarding your specific questions, here we go. Parks Australia uses eDNA screening in a number of national parks, including both marine and terrestrial environments. The specific locations and focus areas may vary depending on the objectives of each project. We work in close partnership with research agencies and institutions, including to encourage, contribute to or commission science to address park management needs. And there's a website there, Australian Marine Parks, The Tasmanian tiger is not a focus of Parks Victoria's current eDNA monitoring activities. Although the species may appear in some commercially available eDNA panels, our monitoring program is guided by the department's priorities, including the priority species list. And they've got a website for that. Thank you again for your interest. If you have any further questions, please find our contact information here, Parks Australia. Regards, Melinda. Doesn't leave her surname. Parks Australia, John Gorton Building, King Edward Terrace, Parks ACT 2600 Australia, GPR Box 3090 ACT 2601, Ngawandal Country, Aboriginal Country, Department of Climate Change, Energy, Environment and Water. And there's the official stamp down the bottom, so I just race through that. And you notice the lady doesn't give her last name or her position. So I get that occasionally, they don't want anything to do with it, just in case these things, these things pop up. And then they're protecting their backsides, I think. You notice there's no real parks, once again, there's no real, except down the bottom here where it's got Commonwealth Australian government, but there's no real parks insignia. There's acknowledgement once again of the Aboriginals.